It didn't seem like much at first. Wasn't even sure it was a case, but the job Stilton handed me felt like I stepped right on a buried mine. The mess with the shrews, well, ruckus don't seem to cut it.
Mouse PI for Hire is a game that I've had my eye on for a while. What was originally a tech demo evolved into its own game, being a 1930s cartoony boomer shooter where you play as a mouse detective. The concept alone got me hyped, and the gameplay we would proceed to see furthered my excitement, and I'm happy to report that Mouse PI for Hire has lived up to the hype. Let's talk about it. Hi guys, DPX here reviewing today Mouse PI for Hire. I know I'm very late on this. I had a lot going on this week, but we're doing it. Now before we get started, you know what to do. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell, leave a comment, or I'll make sure you disappear. Starting off with the good, I gotta get this out of the way as it's the first thing you'll notice when even looking at Mouse PI for Hire, and that's the aesthetic. I'm not just gonna say it's cool or anything like that. What I am gonna say is whoever came up with this idea for a game with this kind of aesthetic is a goddamn genius. This is exactly how I felt about Cuphead, a game that I feel Mouse PI has a lot in common with. But this game's aesthetic, I don't want to say it's the best thing about it because, spoiler alert, this is a really damn good game all around. But I don't know if this game would work as well if it had just a regular, say like a cel-shaded aesthetic. Doing a boomer shooter with not just an old Disney cartoon look to it, but also monochromatic, instantly sets Mouse PI for Hire apart from other games on the market. There are many high-profile games that have come out within the past week or so, and more in the coming weeks, but none look the way that this game does. But it's not just the aesthetic, it's the whole vibe. From the music, which is great, to the way the characters talk, they really made Mouse PI for Hire feel like a full detective noir set in the 1930s with a Steamboat Willie look. But to move on to the gameplay, Mouse PI for Hire is a boomer shooter through and through. You often end up in an area with a fuck ton of enemies, and what you do is just mow them down. It's a lot of fun, and what else helps this is the gunplay. If that gunplay wasn't as tight and fun as it is, the gameplay wouldn't work as well either. The game doesn't necessarily give you an incentive to switch your weapons as you fight enemies, but I don't think it really needs to. This is great, and the guns themselves are really cool too. Hell, one of the guns is literally named the James Gun. How awesome is that? I wonder what James Gunn's reaction to that is. But there are abilities you unlock too. At certain points, your character will put away all weapons and instead scarf down a can of spinach and become jacked like Popeye, and instead of shooting enemies, you just punch the shit out of them. There are also other abilities like a double jump and wall running, and more abilities you unlock later in the game that I don't want to spoil. And when I say later in the game, I mean some you even unlock within the final hour of the game, still freshening things up that late. But what else Mouse PI for Hire does really well is its story, and specifically its world building. The story follows a private investigator who is also a mouse, hence the title of the game, named Jack Pepper, who's voiced by Troy Baker, by the way, who it just feels like he's in everything now, but he is investigating the disappearance of an actor and a singer. Throughout the game, as you'd expect, he goes around different areas to find clues, evidence, and answers while running into a bunch of evil cops trying to kill him. The story itself is quite interesting, even if it is a little by the numbers, but what else helps is the world and world building. First off, this world feels lived in and real, which is quite a feat when the world we're talking about is a monochromatic world where everyone is an anthropomorphic mouse. But it really does. All the characters throughout the game that Jack meets with and bonds with, like Wanda Fuller, Cornelius Stilton, Tammy Tumbler, or John Brown, first off, amazing names, but second off, when you, the player, meet these characters, they already know Jack. That helps this world feel real because the characters already know each other. And I alluded to this earlier, but the dialogue is great. These characters talk like how characters from a 1930s noir should talk like, with a bunch of cheese puns thrown in there. A lot of the jokes are mainly cheese puns or references to the fact that they're in a video game. That ran the risk of getting old, but it didn't. Like, it didn't get old. And plus, they do a clever thing where they make like blue cheese and fondue the equivalent to like whiskey and wine, which I think is just very funny. And it's also helped by the voice acting. I mentioned Troy Baker as Jack Pepper, and he's great as the character. It really shows the range of a guy like Troy Baker, the VA for Joel from The Last of Us, who also voiced Indiana Jones in The Great Circle, can also do a cartoon mouse. Not to mention, there are a ton of references throughout the game. References to what, you may be wondering? Well, take your pick. References to other games, movies, shows, anything. There's even a fucking Tiger King reference. Remember Tiger King? I forgot that existed.
I'm never gonna financially recover from this.
There's even a segment towards the end that I won't spoil, but it's basically a giant reference and caught me off guard, but in a good way. Simply put, Mouse PI for Hire is a fantastic game, and I think we need more like it. Maybe not specifically something as unique as this, but a game where a team just had a cool idea and just went with it. Moving on to the mixed, first off, there's a card minigame. Now, despite me not being a big fan of card games, I'm actually not here to say that this card minigame sucks or anything like that, but rather, I don't think I played it even once. You might want to say, you're supposed to be reviewing this game, how can you not play the card minigame? Well, first off, I honestly forgot it was there a lot of the time, and secondly, I don't need to play that. But maybe it floats your boat, and that's okay. It is something worth mentioning. It is a part of the game, just not something I've really experienced. And the second thing is more something to be aware of, and that is Mouse PI for Hire might not be for everyone. It seems like this game is generally well liked, but there are people out there where it seems like it's just not for them. And again, that's okay.
Card is dead. I repeat, Miles' card is dead.
Moving on to the bad, first off is load times. I played this game on Switch 2, which might be worse than the other versions, but it's an actual Switch 2 version of the game. Like, I'm not just playing like a Switch 1 game on the Switch 2, this is an actual Switch 2 version, and the load times are a bit annoying. Similarly, this may also be a problem with the Switch 2 version specifically, but Mouse PI crashed on me 4 times throughout my playthrough. That is very frustrating. Even if a game crashes on me once, I have to mention it in the bad. And on top of that, some other technical issues like some stuttering and occasional audio cuts happened. It wasn't the worst thing ever, and it didn't happen too frequently, but it did happen. Again, I feel like this may be the Switch 2 version. I did hear beforehand there were some technical issues with that version of the game, but honestly, aside from the ones I mentioned, it was mostly a smooth experience. I just think, I can't witness stuff like that and not mention it. I also had an issue with the UI at times, specifically during gameplay and interactions. The button to grab an item or open a door or pull a lever or anything like that is the same button you press when you want to reload one of your guns. But often, I'm standing right in front of an item or a door and pressing the button to use it, but I'll reload instead, because I was off by just like a few pixels from the thing I'm trying to grab. I hope that makes sense. It's a minor issue, but one that did frustrate me here and there. And lastly, the enemies. Not like they are hard or anything like that. I'm talking more about the enemy variety, in that there isn't much. It's mainly the same evil mouse cops. Some regular ones, some big brutes, some little ones with a bomb, some little ones flying around. That's basically all we get for like 90% of the game. For how creative Mouse PI is, I would have liked to see that more in the enemy variety. Mouse PI for Hire, while obviously not, a perfect 10 out of 10, is a perfect example of creativity within the gaming industry. We need more games like it. The idea of taking a 1930s Disney aesthetic and making it into a boomer shooter, detective noir, is honestly gold. Sure, there were some technical issues during my playthrough, annoying UI moments, and disappointing enemy variety, but that's not enough to detract from what very well may be this year's indie darling. In the end, I give Mouse PI for Hire a 9 out of 10. So that's my review for Mouse PI for Hire. Sorry it took me so long. Part of it was I took a while to beat this game, not because it's a very long game. It is actually quite short, but I just had other things going on that prolonged my playthrough of this game, and then other things going on that prolonged my review of this game. But it's here. And what do you guys think? Do you guys like the game, not like the game? If you guys played it, not played it? If you haven't played it, you guys want to play it, not want to play it? Anything about Mouse PI for Hire, let me know down below. Anyways, be sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, or I will make sure you go missing. Bye!